So Andoni Iraola, in my opinion, exposed Manchester United's biggest problem right now. It is Manchester United 2, Bournemouth 2, and I know a lot of people are going to look at the refereeing decisions for the reason that Manchester United did not collect all 3 points away at Bournemouth. But in my personal opinion, I think we've gotten to the point now where we know what the level of quality of the officiating in the Premier League is. Yelling and screaming and asking for better officiating, in my opinion, is simply a waste of time. I think the reality is it's another game, in my opinion, where Manchester United did not perform to the level that was needed of them to get the 3 points, and we are going to get into all of that right now. So as always, grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab your espresso, and let's get into the video. So when I say Andoni Iraola exposed Manchester United's biggest weakness, it's something that we also saw in the Newcastle game, in which Manchester United lost after being a man up. And the thing I am alluding to is the lack of compactness, specifically in the midfield. When Manchester United are defending from the front in a 4-4-2, they have a really difficult time making sure that they stay compact. They have a really difficult time managing opposition rotations. And in my opinion, they actually get really easily pulled out, and it makes it easy for the opposition to play passes through the line. So what we saw here, again, we see somewhat of a 4-4-2. You see Mbeumo and Cunha acting as the two strikers, and then you see Bruno jumping to the fullback. And as you can see, clear as day here, we have a free man, an easy pass through the lines. Kobe's not close enough to jump, and it's an easy pass. And just like that, Mbeumo, Cunha, Bruno are all out of the game. That's exactly what happens. They break another line, and look at the amount of space that Bournemouth have to play in. You cannot see a single United defender, and you see Cass, you see Kobe. They've both been taken out of the game, with one pass. And we spoke about this before. The distances in which Manchester United play with from the back four to the midfield two, and the lack of mobility to cover the spaces are a really big challenge right now for Manchester United. Again, what you see here is Mbeumo being late to occupy the space, to shadow the pass from the Bournemouth center half to play through the lines, and it is really easy. With one pass, Bournemouth have once again gotten in behind, left Dallo 1v1, and then you see Evan Nilsson making a run in behind as well. And to me, sometimes it almost seems as if they don't know when to sit. They don't know when to try and be compact, and they don't know when to jump. It's almost as if they're not understanding the pressing triggers, the pressing cues. They kind of seem to be doing their own thing oftentimes. What you'll see sometimes is you'll see Bruno Fernandes running around trying to press, and no one around him is pressing with him, and you can see him get frustrated because, obviously they've played a little triangle around him and then they're out. And it seems like there's a lack of understanding of when to go and when to sit. Again, here, the distances between Kobe and Casemiro, it's a problem. You can see the Bournemouth player here in this space. He's scanning to make sure that neither Euro or Maguire are going to jump to him and make it difficult for when he receives that he has a center back on his back. But again, United being very passive. You see Cunha and Bruno over here. You see Mbeumo and Ahmad over here. I don't exactly know what they're supposed to be doing. And as no one puts pressure on the Bournemouth player, he continues to carry and carry and carry. And literally just like that, free man in the pocket. It's very easy for him because Evan Nilsson has Euro and Maguire pinned. Very easy for this player to get on the half turn and face, go forward. And just like that, with one pass, the Manchester United midfield has been bypassed again. When we talk about analyzing the matches that we watch, you're not looking for one-off instances. I say this all the time. You are looking for passages of play. And I also want you to look at the fact, look where they're looking. Obviously, they're all looking. They're all ball watching. Every single one of these players is ball watching. None of them is aware of what's behind them. It's an easy pass in between the lines. And once again, with one pass, Manchester United are running back towards their own goal, and this was just a consistent thing in the first half, and it led into the second half, and it actually happened with the Bournemouth goals that we're going to analyze, but this was a massive problem for Manchester United. It's a consistent issue week on week. We are seeing it. They do not know how to cope with the overload in midfield, and they are getting overrun. They are getting pulled apart, and is not a good look for what we're seeing right now. Now, another topic that is, really, I think, staring us in the face right now as United fans is missing Lisandro Martinez. And this is no slight on Harry Maguire or Lenny Euro, because I actually thought that they were both pretty good again today, and I actually rate both of them probably a lot higher than most. But where we miss Lisandro massively is in the build-up, in progressing from the first phase to the middle phase and then getting the ball into the final third. He essentially plays quarterback for United when he plays. Get him the ball, he can play those passes between the line. He can find passes that no other center back, in my opinion, in the Premier League can find, and that's a very unique characteristic to have in a center half. And I noticed it a couple of times when United were looking to build up, and I think United's build up as well is an area of concern. I think they struggle with, once again, finding rotations, pulling teams out, and then playing in the open space in the third man. So what you saw here was Euro went all the way back to Lemens, and obviously Maguire is going to drop, so he creates the angle for Lemens to play him, and then United can hopefully look to go forward. The issue with this is Maguire is obviously right-footed. Obviously, we know that he can play with his left as well, but you see the body shape here is not very good. You see, the way his hips are facing, he's not necessarily ready to receive with his left foot and go forward. Where Lisandro Martinez here, of course, being left-footed, he's going to be able to receive on his back foot, and he's going to be able to hopefully play a pass between the lines. Now Maguire's being pressed. You can see he's not really comfortable because, again, he is right-footed. He's being pushed to the touchline, and he knows, okay, now I have to swing it with my left foot. United go long, and they lose possession. And this is something that was happening a lot. So what we were seeing was when Bournemouth were pressing United from when they were looking to build, Lemens would get the ball, or even if the ball would get played out to Euro, even if it was an open play, the ball would end up coming back to Lemens, and Lemens, when he would play it to Maguire, Shaw would then step into this space. United would look to overload this pocket. But because Bournemouth would essentially ask the question of Maguire to, push him towards the touchline and force him to go long, they knew that the cue was, as soon as Maguire got out here, Jimenez, Hill, they were looking to make that jump and make it very compact, and they were comfortable in winning those second balls. And I want to end on a positive, because although in my opinion it is a extremely disappointing result, I was extremely unhappy with the way that United let the lead slip twice. I was thoroughly impressed and really enjoyed Matheus Cunha's performance, and I think he is continuing to grow, and I really like the fact that now he's starting to play a bit more wide, but he still is such a danger when he gets in those half spaces and he plays in those pockets. And just look at the differences in the two clips we're going to go over. So here you can see Cunha doing what he does best, doing what I think is instinctive to him, and that's dropping into the space to come and receive the ball. Maguire sees Cunha dropping into the space. He knows he wants it there. Perfect. So now Cunha has received, but instead of playing a safe pass, maybe into Bruno, maybe not so safe, he decides, you know what, I'm going to get my head up and I am going to go around Jimenez and I'm going to challenge him. I am going to go 1v1 against him, and I want to see if he can defend me. On this specific occasion, Cunha decides to go on the outside. He gets a cross into the box, but Bournemouth defend it well. Okay, fair enough. Now let's talk about the penalty that Matheus Cunha wins and Bruno Fernandes scores. First of all, it's an incredible touch from Matheus Cunha to pluck it out from this guy. Absolutely ridiculous technique and quality from him. And instead of, like in the first clip, trying to go down the line, he says, you know what, you showed me the line last time. This time I'm going to drop my shoulder, get on the inside, and see what happens. And Jimenez is forced to pull him down, gets a hold of his jersey, leads to a penalty. Bruno Fernandes scores. United go up 1-0. Now, I did say I was going to end on a positive, but I did forget that we need to talk about the Bournemouth goals. And I just want you guys to pay attention to one thing, and it's the distances between the Manchester United players. So Bournemouth have gotten the ball here, and realistically, what needs to happen here is Cunha needs to make it difficult for the Bournemouth player to even think about getting a cross into the box or getting the ball out wide, and then you have Diogo Dalot defending the 1v1. What happens instead is Casemiro jumps because Cunha's not really making that big of an effort to close him down. Fair enough. The ball gets played into, once again, the free man, wide open outside of the 18. You can make the argument, should Euro start to already jump to close the space because he realizes that Casemiro has completely vacated that zone. He doesn't. They get a shot off. It's a decent finish, to be fair. And that is the goal that made it 1-1. Now, on the second goal, again, bread and butter of what we were talking about and the big problems that Manchester United are facing right now. Evanilson drops into the pocket, and Kobe is not aware once again of what's behind him. Look at the distances. I want you guys to pay attention to the distances between Kobe and Casemiro. It is large. There is nothing stopping this ball getting played into this space for Evanilson to get on the ball, turn, and go towards Manchester United's back line. Euro now engages Evanilson with a nice little layoff. Maguire is now weary of Evanilson. Again, like we've spoken about before with Kobe and Cass, and this is not to dig them out because obviously I'm a big fan of both of them. That is not what this channel is for, but we have to recognize when there are issues and challenges with the way United are playing. United get caught out, and in my opinion, again, if you're going to give this as a penalty, you have to give the Ahmad one as a penalty as well, but I'm not one to blame refereeing decisions for the reason why my favorite football team doesn't win. Bournemouth score the penalty, and the game, Harry Maguire gets sent off as well to make matters worse, and the game ends 2-2. So yeah, again, it's not doom and gloom, but there are issues. I think, once again, we've seen when the opposition is building up and Manchester United look to go in their 4-4-2 shape. This time we saw Bruno and Mbeumo typically leading the press with Cunha and Ahmad as the wingers. We were seeing a lot of times the midfield get stretched. Bruno and Mbeumo, what they do obviously is they lock on, as they will, to the two center halves. And what happens a lot of the times is we'll see a rotation where one of the opposition midfielders, whether it's Scott or Christie, will drop in here. Kobe will then be invited to jump to the midfielder. Casemiro, again, likes to sit. He's not as progressive as a presser, if you will, as Kobe is. Casemiro will jump then to Scott when he can. And what we saw, just like in the Newcastle game as well, we then have the free man who can kind of run into these pockets. And if he decides to drift out wide, what we saw as well in the Newcastle game with Anthony Gordon, Evanilson more than comfortable to jump into this space. That leaves Euro and Maguire with the decision. Do we jump? And if we do jump, then do we get caught in behind in this space here, and then they can go beyond? Or do we stay patient, but then Bournemouth gets the ball in between the lines, and then they can turn and face, and then they can get runners forward? And we've seen both cause Manchester United problems so far this season, under Ruben Amorim, under Michael Carrick especially. But again, there are issues, there are challenges, and I'm interested to see what Manchester United can do to fix them. Now, the only other thing I want to say is I think it's time for the Sesko off the bench experiment to end. I think the reality is we've seen Ahmad, Mbeumo, and Cunha enough. And I don't think that the Mbeumo at the 9 position experiment is working. I think it's time to move on from it. I think we really need to see either Sesko in the 9 with Mbeumo or Ahmad on the right side. I think you have to have a real conversation. Again, I didn't necessarily love Mbeumo or Ahmad's performance today. And I think Sesko has done more than enough off the bench to warrant a start. I think Michael Carrick has a big decision on his hands to make. but obviously it is up to him and him alone to make that decision. That is it for this one, though. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought of the game. Let me know who your player of the match was for Manchester United. As always, if you are enjoying the content, remember to like the video and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. As I always say, we are on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so I would really appreciate it. I'll chat to y'all again very soon. Until next time,